just a moment. And then I saw this from Shannon Terry, works at on3.com. A dose of common sense from New Mexico legislature. So what they're doing, the New Mexico legislature has a bill now, a Senate Bill 219, titled College Student Athlete Endorsements. If passed, I'm not going to read all this. If passed, the bill will amend the current state law by removing the prohibition that prevents colleges and universities from arranging third-party compensation for the use of an athlete's name, image, and likeness. The bill would also remove the prohibition of NIL deals being used as inducements to recruit prospective athletes.
Well, just to make that simpler, they're taking away the facade that it was not being used that way. So you have a law, and then it says in the law that it's not supposed to be used as recruiting inducement, yet there's no protections in said laws that would make it not that way. Because how could it not be if you basically say they can have it now and it can't be used as a recruiting inducement? Well, how do you prove that it's not? And they're like, well, there's not really a way. So, and the universities can't be involved because that would mean that's the line. Well, now you created chaos with your laws by trying to work around things or, put up some kind of facade, and it's just tearing down the facade. Yes, schools are going to be involved. Yes, they can arrange those things. And yes, it's going to be used as a recruiting inducement. I mean, it is anyway. And that's just basically they're tearing down any rule that's in the way of that. And since they can't enforce it, might as well just let it happen.
Yeah, like you said, just tearing off the mask, basically. And so yet we're talking yesterday, and we're expecting Congress going to come step in, fix this all. I mean, they're basically just pushing it even further now and basically just saying, like, hey, we're not even going to try and pretend like this is what it is. We're just going to full-blown rip the mask off and, like, we're absolutely inducing athletes. This is an inducement to get them to come play here. We're absolutely buying recruits, and everybody knows that's what it is anyway. So, yeah, might as well just let it all hang out. And somehow, somewhere, there are people very powerful that are, hoping on a whim that some politician is going to come save the day. And yet we're going more in the opposite direction. So I don't know what that means, this in particular decision for, the rest of the country. Everybody's operating on their own. But, I mean, with each day that goes by, I don't have more faith. I have probably equal to or less faith that the government is going to come save the day as far as NIL goes. So, yeah, I think that, especially like you saw it early on, like every state said, oh, we can benefit from this and take advantage of it. And you saw the ones that did, rather than saying like, yeah, let's all come together and have one solid rule. There were a bunch of them that said, hey, if we can go get an advantage, we're going to do that. Let's start offering high school kids NIL. And you saw who did that. And it was a lot of those schools that won a bunch of those national championships, those states that, were a part of that. That we show the graphic of the whole part of that country that's winning all the time. A lot of those were some of the first ones to be like, let's get high school kids NIL. And, people, when they have an advantage, aren't going to relinquish that, or they're going to take full advantage of that advantage. And I think that every state's probably going to do that to some extent. And there will be some that tap the brakes just out of ideology or, whatever their political situation might be. Maybe it's more to their benefit and their constituency to be a little bit more conservative when it comes to, full-blown NIL for everybody. But, it's not getting put back in the box. It's more and more is leaking out. And I don't know, what the dam being built is ultimately going to look like, if that's even going to be possible at this point.
Well, I mean, and the other thing, I don't think we've ever mentioned this, and Craig, you kind of get touched on it there. Okay, if the states are kind of doing this all on their own right now, well, clearly at the national level, there are two, we have two parties. One of them believes the federal government is a better answer to everything, and one of them believes the states are better answers to everything, which is basically their excuse of saying we're not going to do much today. So if you have a group that is, there's a lot heavier issues than NIL that are left to the states. A lot of different things that are way more controversial and flashpoint issues than name, image, and likeness. So if we've got politicians willing to leave those things to the states, and NIL is not even up there, like, why would they even think that they're going to get federal involvement if half the people believe that most of these things are better solved at the state level? You're not going to get them involved in it. So you're what the NCAA NCAA is asking for is something that they probably need because that's the only way to funnel it onto the same highway, but also they're asking for something to completely change about the way Congress is even constructed right now, and that could be 30 years from now before that happens, maybe longer.
It is, when it's there and it's up for discussion, it is a topic, and we're going to cover it, we're going to discuss it, but it does seem to be that it's only going to go pretty much nowhere other than a lot of speculation, and who knows, maybe something pops before then. By the way,